live action television. So with animation, you're drawing, and there's a whole difference. The storyboard artists are really the ones who really tell the story ultimately. Now that I've written for live action, my next script will be more in tune with how actors actually behave, and I'm going to be writing more to budget because now I know how things operate. But when I was writing it, I was just trying to get the story out. All I was thinking about was all the stuff that needed to get on the page in terms of moving the story forward. I was thinking about economy of language and space and all that. But no, because when you get on set, directors have a point, and actors will always be like, yeah, maybe I didn't say that, but yeah, can I say it this way? And then you're like, well, you could, but then so what happens is you have to run it up the flagpole back because you're not allowed to change anything, so you have to get the producers on the phone and be like, look, this is what they want to do, and they're like, no, they have to say it that way. Then you have to be the guy like, no, they kind of want you to say it that way. So you're kind of the book. It's a good cop, bad cop thing, Yeah, so, so it's a thing where, me personally, I'm not, coming from the comic book world, I know that you have to give space to the art team, so you don't want to be too much of a stickler, about exactly, you have to write it. No, because the artists will start to interpret things and often make things better. And there were many times when Haley, James, Reggie, and everyone else on the set would say things, and it would be a lot better. There was one scene when she's walking with Seuss at the beginning, and she says something about Dottie's of more worth or worth more. And she said it the way it was more organic for her. On the page I said she's worth more, but the British say of more worth, or something like that. And it just was better for her, because she kept stumbling, and we were like, no, just say it how you like to say it. So for me personally, I would be a complete idiot to be like, no, Haley, you gotta say it the way it's okay. Sometimes actors act. Yeah. They are artists too. They are craftsmen too, with space and light and language. You have to let them, there's a great James Cagney story about the famous actor James Cagney, that when he would always enter a scene, he would be like this. He would always enter a scene like, the thing is, he did that because he wanted to command the space. Yeah. Another great story about acting is Hunt for Red October. Sean Connery, who's one of my favorite actors, he was a complete dick. Excuse my language. He was a complete jerk to a lot of the people who were playing ensigns and lower ranked officers when he was on set. But he did that so that when he walked into the scene, they would all stiffen up, like real Navy people do when the commanding officer steps onto the comm. And these are things that you can't write down on a page. You can say officers stiffen up, but a trained actor can know how to manipulate the space, manipulate other actors, and use the language in the most commanding way and the most effective way. Because if I was writing for, let's say, Gene Hackman, another one of my favorite actors, and Kurtwood Smith, Vernon Masters, the guy from the 70s Show, right? And he was the bad guy in RoboCop. That guy is one of my favorite actors of all time. And you wouldn't even realize how evil he was in RoboCop 1. That guy was one of the worst evil villains in history. But you know what he did? It was how he talked, how he used his face, how he smiled, the sneer he has. You see it a little bit in Vernon Masters, particularly at the end when he's like, no, I think you need to take that time off. Those are things, like that push against, Seuss's chest, that wasn't written. That's something those two came up with, and he was like acting like he was hurt. I didn't write that. That was Enver and Kurtwood. So a lot of times you have to leave some space for actors to make their interpretation. And more often than not, honestly, I'd say 85% of the time, they're on the right track. So some people like Aaron Sorkin and other people are a little bit harsh about that, but for me, I'm going to be the type of person that's going to write to my actors, because without them, it's just words on the page. You got to have them and support them. So that's all it is.
Did you also write the line with the Barbara Stanwyck and Carol Lombard?
I think Michelle Vasikas wrote that.
Okay.
Yeah, she wrote that line about, because we were trying to figure out what to do with the jitterbug, because also it was cost effective and we couldn't keep having that shoot off. So we were like, okay, let's have it malfunction and have it blow off screen. So that scene when you see the place, we had an earthquake machine in that room. And it was the most terrifying thing, because I'm not from the East Coast, so earthquakes to me. I've been through one earthquake here, and I'm like, I'm about to fly right back. So, and it's like, boom, and I'm like, whoa. And then you see the stunt dude take that amazing dive down the stairs. I didn't write that. But that's something they came up with, because it gives you a sense of realism. It's a tangible reaction. For people who grew up on the West Coast and you see that, you're like, oh yeah, that's probably what happened. For me, I'm like, whoa, this is horrific. This happens, you know? So, yeah, so basically, you have to leave space and then understand that the art department, the VFX folks, and the actors are all going to have a hand ultimately in what shows up on screen. So you shouldn't, I mean, in my estimate, in my very young career, I don't think you should go too far in being oppressive with them.
One more question.
Okay. Yo. Sure. Last question.
One of the things that I was excited to see in season 2 was the addition of Reggie's character, because I think as excited as we were, like, from the feminist standpoint in season 1, and a lot of women, there were people of color. And it was
And New
refreshing
York is born.
to have you there. And so, how was the fan response to that, and what was the conversation in the writers' room?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there were no black people in it.
Yeah.
I think we landed when Bruce had it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, no, it's diversity on film is always a challenge. It's always something that's lacking, especially being an actor of color. Certain simple things, like, I mean, when you see it, it's not even just, I mean, Agent Carter takes place in the 1940s. Friends was present day
No blacks.
in New York City.
In New York.
In New York City. There were no black people on that show. But like, it's crazy the lack of diversity or the pigeonholing, because I think of Asian actors, and if you're an Asian male, you better know martial arts if you want to work in Hollywood.
Seriously.
Let's be real. That's sad. That's ridiculous. There are amazing actors who are Asian who don't do karate. Oh, I'm sorry, but like they're just good actors. Like who happen to be Asian. Like get that through your head, you know. Or just there's so many different things like that you see, I think, in the industry. So the fact that Agent Carter took it upon themselves to hear that criticism and immediately respond, and respond well. I wasn't like, it's like, I'm a black person, Agent Carter, hi, and I, like, you know, I was pretty important. Like, my character was pretty important over the course of the story that was being told over the course of the season. So, I mean, hats off to them for doing that, and doing it well. And I think that's the other thing, too, is that you could instead have made the season be about race and try to over-tell that story in an attempt to sort of rectify or, you know, some kind of a wrong. And I think that would have been irresponsible and wouldn't have worked either. And I say all the time that, like, I feel like it was just handled with so deftly and just so subtly in scenes in the first couple episodes at the bar
With Donut Shop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There and just you know, small but potent little nods and acknowledgments of it without making it heavy-handed or anything, and I think it just made for that much more rich and dynamic of an experience. So for me, just playing it was great. I enjoyed
But
it.
they did make us think you were dead for a little while.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just playing out the other trope of Hollywood films.
The bad guy dies
The
first.
dies.
You did die first.
That is true.
You also came back to life first.
That is
Yeah.
true. I almost died. Yes. I seemingly died a couple times, but yeah.
Yeah,